All right. Well, so here we go. There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna do this live. So that's how I do everything. Anyone watching this who doesn't know, I'm a former radio DJ, so I do what I do live. But also, I suck at editing. All right. Any of y'all ever follow the Chris Watts, Shanann Watts story? It's all over YouTube. So many different YouTubers have jumped on, and there's a lot of angles you can take with that. As far as getting people to watch your videos while you talk about Chris Watts and Shanann Watts. But what I haven't seen much of, and when I've been in chat rooms with like Go Lightly or some of the others, I've been kicked off anytime I mentioned Shanann Watts' blood alcohol level because of the speculation part of that. So I did the best research I could do in, like an hour before I jumped on this video, just so we could go over a few of these things. So if you don't know, Chris Watts is serving the rest of his life in prison in Colorado for murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, and his two baby girls, 4 and 3 years old, Celeste and, oh gosh, I just forgot what's the other girl's name. Oh, boo. Y'all tell me her name real quick, and then I'll, because I don't want to. Bella, thank you. It's terrible, it's tragic, it's horrible. I'm a father of 4. It would never cross my mind. And so when you look at that, you gotta go like, how did this dude get to this point? Like, what made him flip like that? There's a lot of interesting video from people, and what's great about the Freedom of Information Act is that people are able to FOIA request the police officers' body cams and all that kind of stuff, so you can see like almost in real time Chris Watts going through, oh shit, I'm being busted. And like if you've watched The Neighbor, when the police go in and they're looking at the neighbor's surveillance video, it is like Chris is just melting in front of the police. He's got his hands on his head, and I know I'm not trying to make it funny, but the dude is like, seriously looks like he's crumbling in front of the camera. The thing is, when they bring him in, well, he comes in voluntarily to do an interview, and the investigators appear to have him kind of cornered, and he has to speak to his dad. And in that conversation, he tells his dad that Shanann had murdered the 2 girls, and that he flipped out and murdered Shanann. Well, here's some of the facts that I know about this, that I've looked into, that just make me question whether or not he has any credibility with this actual part of this whole story. So Shanann Watts' blood alcohol level was 0.128. The legal limit for driving anyway is 0.08. So, she was over the legal limit for driving. She was also pregnant, and so, that's not necessarily a good thing. But they were both on this appetite suppressor / weight loss product called Thrive. And Thrive, as of October of last year, was not FDA approved. And so I was interested to see what the contents of Thrive were, and then how each of those contents individually interact with alcohol, and then if you can find out how they interact together with alcohol. And to summarize, essentially, drowsiness, anxiety, jittery, depressed, and headaches, irritability, things like that. That's kind of the overall sort of diagnosis. So mixed with alcohol, Thrive can cause depression, drowsiness, anxiety, and headaches. And then we know from Chris's girlfriend that he himself was on more than one patch at a time sometimes. But what we don't know is, like, was Shanann abusing the Thrive? Was she taking more than she needed to take? How did the Thrive react with the alcohol and her being in a, being pregnant? And so the manner of death for the two girls was suffocation, and the manner of death for Shanann was strangulation. And Shanann, it was strangulation, but also not like one vicious like act of strangulation. It was a slower, more methodical strangulation. So, not that that means anything. And a lot of people are putting out that maybe the girlfriend was in there and she helped. I don't know. I just am bringing up, because every time I try to mention this on a chat room about it, no one wants to talk about it. What if Shanann was fucked up, drunk enough that night, mixed with the Thrive, caused her to lose her shit? She had other issues too, medical issues. And I'm just hypothesizing, what if Shanann did kill the two children and Chris was like, oh God, I don't know what to do now? First of all, you'd be angry, obviously, but then, she's got your unborn boy inside of her. Would that make you kill her slower? Even saying that sounds stupid coming out of my mouth, but it makes you have to think. The trial really wasn't much of a trial. He just said, I'm guilty, let's get this over with. He did, however, tell his father that he did this because Shanann had killed the two girls. So, what did Shanann lose her shit? And in a depressed, anxious, irritable mood, did she kill the two girls? She found out he was cheating, and that made her flip, and then he then flipped on her? Or is it just as cut and dry as it looks? Did he do all of that? Maybe he had too much Thrive in him. I know that this is sounding bad for Thrive, but it is a non-FDA approved, it's non-FDA approved. There hasn't been the sufficient amount of testing on pregnant women, the sufficient amount of testing and the interactions with alcohol. It has in it, so far as I found, formalin, a green coffee, bean extract, Garcinia cambogia, coenzyme CoQ10, white willow bark, and cosmoporine. And then interacting with each other, most of those things, you're essentially looking at the jitters, the overcaffeination, overstimulating yourself with these patches can cause, jitteriness, nausea, anxiety. Maybe you mix that with alcohol, maybe throw that in with finding out about an affair. I just feel like maybe there's more to it than this cut and dry, no testifying. Like, Chris Watts didn't get up and say shit in his defense. He essentially just took it up the ass and fucking went to prison. His only defense is in that interrogation interview. So I am only hypothesizing here, and I wanted to put it out there in the YouTube sphere. The fact is, Shanann Watts' blood alcohol was 0.128. She was observed as this nurturing, loving mother, and all the videos support that. And I think that probably she was. But what if the alcohol interaction with the Thrive, along with the discovery of Chris Watts cheating, what if she lost her shit, flipped, and fucking murdered those kids, and Chris wasn't lying? And then what do you do when you find that out? Would you be like choking her and then stop to say why, and then choking her some more? And maybe you weren't even meaning to kill her, you were trying to scare her, but then you took it too far, and then you're flipping out trying to figure out what you're going to do about all that. So I wanted to just lay out what I've researched, what I found, and put it out there to you and ask you to hit me up in the comments and let me know what you've seen. I don't watch a lot of these videos made by other people about it, similar to what I'm doing now. Most of these are opinions, because kind of like, Chris Watts ended that without much more to be needed to be said. He took the brunt of it. He took all of it, and definitely he put them in the oil wells or the tanks. I could not do that with my kids. I would never be able to do that. I know personally, without being affected by any substances, had I found out that my ex murdered one of my children, I would, call the police. But who knows how you act when all hell comes upon you like that, and what other factors were involved. So, like I said, most of these, and Thrive says that it claims to help you reach peak physical and mental levels. So Thrive isn't just about the physicality. It isn't just about helping you meet, a weight loss goal. It self-advertises that it can help you reach certain, mental aptitude, a certain level of mental awareness so they're saying that it affects you mentally as well. So we do know that she was at 0.128 with pregnant with a child. She had been drinking that night, and that certainly she had her Thrive on. Maybe that interaction caused her to lose her shit, along with the other circumstances going on. I just want to throw it out there. Want y'all's response back, and I'll do a follow-up video. I'm going to look into it more. I've only done, an hour's worth of looking into it. I just want to put it out there. Most people are going to come at me like, hey man, you're stupid, up, all that kind of shit. But I do want to throw it out there and get people talking about it. They seem to not want to talk about it on like Go Lightly or whatever. She's playing for the home team, and that's fine. But there are questions that still need to be answered. He gave himself up. He really didn't get his day in court because he decided he didn't need it. And to me, that's like one of those, I'll take this. So maybe he's covering for the girlfriend, but maybe he's also covering for Shanann. Maybe he's covering for her legacy. And maybe he's taking all that on himself. Interesting little side note. The reason why I'm even looking into all this is because my ex-employer, a part-time employer, thought that I was Chris Watts. No shit. And I'm like, that dude killed his family. She's not from America, so I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason she misunderstood the news and misunderstood what was going on with me. But she was like, you're from Colorado, right? And I'm like, no. She tried to, somehow in her mind, she had me being Chris Watts, because he's from North Carolina. And for whatever reason, she tied the two things together, because I didn't even look into Chris Watts till December when she asked me about that. My ex-employer asked me about that in December, and I looked into it more. And so I've only even been following the story closely for a couple months. But it bothers me that there hasn't been enough said about the interaction with Thrive and alcohol, the amount of Thrive that Chris was known to wear. Was Shanann wearing more Thrive? Who knows? And I'm not trying to say that Thrive is bad or any of that. I'm just trying to say maybe there was some interaction that caused them to act completely out of character, to cause them to take their level way the fuck up here over some shit that could have maybe been solved way down here. I'm only saying that it's a possibility. So look into yourself. Like I said, most of the ingredients, their interactions, the drowsiness, anxiety, jittery, depressed, and headaches. But if you already have underlying factors and you go into a depressed state, Susan Smith really happened. Susan Smith took her kids and drowned them alive. All right, she literally drove them into a lake, like, see you kids, and let them die. So